What does this day after look like? Well, it looks like the Chiefs have a formula to win, and they don't care how they do it. They might just mess around and do it several different ways all season long. What's it going to look like today? We're going to have to talk about what it looks like without Travis Kelce. Chiefs get a win against the Vikings. We are here. It is your show tonight. Welcome in. He's Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. We're getting a lot done tonight. We're going to answer all of your questions. How you doing, Dan?
Oh, I'm doing well. I feel like I have more light on my face today. I look almost white in some sense, in some regard. It's a little weird. It's a little off-putting to me looking at my face, seeing it that bright. But I'm doing well. I've gotten through all of the defensive tape right now for my first walkthrough on what we're going to talk about. So, yeah, I'm doing good.
I like it. Folks, we're going to give you a couple of further takeaways. If you weren't with us live post-game, make sure you like, sub, hit that bell, become part of this channel because we do a ton of stuff. Dan and I do a ton of lives in particular so that we can get your instant feedback, and that's what tonight is about. It is your show. We are just here to answer the questions. You guys are running it, so put your questions in there. Put some question marks before them if you would. Every single super chat gets an answer tonight, no matter what, and we're going to answer a ton of your other questions as well. We're going to go by topics, so we will meander around a little bit. But our topic of the night, as I'm going to have to fix my camera again, Dan, take it over, and let's talk about this defense and how different maybe it looked.
So I was going through the film, and the defense, they ran a lot more press alignment than we're normally seeing. And in terms of press versus off coverage, they ran a lot of both. So it was almost like mixed across the board until they got the 2-touchdown lead. And then we saw a little bit of changing along the defensive front for the Chiefs. And that was really what allowed them to come back in the game, along with not as many blitzes as we're used to seeing. But he still, Spags still blitzed a little bit at times, more than I remember. And then he was throwing many more stunts than I'm used to seeing this defensive line throw at him. And honestly, it didn't look very good. It wasn't something that was working a ton. They did get some free rushers times, but it was just late. And that was allowing Kirk still to get the ball out to some of his playmakers. But I'd like to see them, if they're going to run around and be open, just get your arms up in his face. Just like chest bump him if you get up there. Like, I don't care. Figure out a way to make that ball not happen. But at the end of the day, they were still getting more pressure than I initially thought. But their 4-man rush was exhausted in the fourth quarter. Like, they were just unable to really do much after that point. So a little bit more of an understanding of what they were trying to do against the Vikings yesterday. And all in all, it wasn't as bad as I remember it when I was watching it live.
Okay. Well, hey, I'll take that. I like the concept of throwing as many things at them as possible to try to get yourself cooking, to find, honestly, what might be working that particular night. So I enjoy the fact that you're going to mix it up a little bit. You might give up some plays, but it didn't appear to hurt them overly so.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy with that. Folks, make sure you're getting your questions in. We're going to get started here on some of that here in a minute. But in particular, I felt like this team, I agree with you that they did look tired at times. We got a little bit of news about George Karlaftis that I'm sure sparked your interest. But in general, he was one of the guys that last night I thought was kind of lagging a little bit. They looked worn out. You guys can find that in my notes because they are going to be available here tomorrow. We'll go over some of them again tonight as well as some of the stats. But tying into that, what did you see that set it apart?
It was like he was late a little bit on most of his rush moves and his inability to kind of separate from the tackle. And we also saw him on some stunts as well. He was trying to get around and he would get caught up at times. But again, he is usually the guy that is always running sideline to sideline whenever he can. I didn't see a ton of that in this game. And maybe it's because he pulled his hammy a little bit, maybe somewhere in the first, second quarter, and he played through it, and maybe to his detriment. But that's also maybe why we saw more Herring and more FAU later in this football game. Granted, George still played a lot of snaps. Personally, I wouldn't have liked to see him play that many snaps when you have a hamstring injury, because really you're trying to generate power through your legs and to your upper body. You want speed to power and that get off to be able to push through tackles. It didn't seem like he had that get off yesterday after he got hurt, even really before. I'm not sure when it set in.
You know, I thought there were a couple of plays early, maybe first drive or two, and then I felt like it happened somewhere in there. When you take a look at it, folks, this is the pass rush stats on the day. And I think it becomes apparent when you have Chris Jones. He's going to be Chris Jones. He's going to lead you in pressures, and that's perfectly fine. That's what you expect. George Karlaftis was right behind him with 3, but you can also tell that that was something that I think that was there for the taking that he didn't quite wasn't quite able to take advantage of. And then you come in with Trent McDuffie, who ends up 3 pressure a little bit last night. But you're talking DN, the best tackle in football, and then Trent. So like that's good company to keep, Mr. McDuffie. I appreciate you.
It absolutely is, and it was his second lowest rated pass rush grade of the season, George Karlaftis, next to Detroit, who has really good tackles. So, and it was also the first game of the season, and he played 58 snaps, the second most on the season, right behind the Lions game. That also ties into his effectiveness. George is a guy who's a high effort player. If he's out there for 58, 59 snaps a game, you're not going to be getting the maximum effort from that player later in the game. It's just not going to add up well. So you add being a little bit tired, probably on top of a hamstring injury, you're not getting the best output from good old George in this game. And again, it might not even be his fault.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fair. Love seeing all the familiar names in here. All the regulars are here. Nice to see you.
Loving it.
Very much appreciate you guys being in. We're going to go through and get those questions stacking, as well as those super chats. Go ahead and throw those in there, and we'll definitely get to everyone. We're going to start off here pretty quick, because the last thing that you pulled a play that I didn't notice the first time, and it made me chuckle in the middle of a meeting today, and I just wanted you to go over and show that.
Oh my gosh! Early in the game, you know, it's nuts. Willie Gay was everywhere early in this football game, and this is just to show you how strong he is. He takes the left guard and he tries to tackle Alexander Madison with him. That's the kind of strength and power we see from Willie when he's moving sideline to sideline. Look at this. Just boom, gone. Tries to tackle the running back with him. It's silly. He's so strong. He plays with so much fire, and he's able to get down the line super, super fast. And my daughter has decided that she's feeling up to coming up in here tonight. How you doing, sweetie? Good. Yeah. I love you.
All fired up. She just wanted to see Willie. I like it.
A little bit. Yeah. Yes, you can.
So we'll start with Micah. If Jones and Snead are gone next year, is wide receiver still the number one priority in the first round of the 2024 draft? I think Avery might like that, but I never thought wide receiver was the number one priority, to tell you the truth. I still feel it's left tackle, and maybe another left tackle. At the end of the day, Donovan Smith, we're going to talk about him later because he has settled down. And the entire offensive line, for the first time this season, as I went back and looked at the stats, played the entire ball game together as a unit of 5 men. That's a step forward. But I always felt that it's probably a 1-year deal, and you're going to have the next left tackle ready to go. Unfortunately, my guy that I've been leaning towards, Joel, got put on his butt by an inferior player a couple of times this week. If you happen to check out Notre Dame. So now I'm a little bit like open to suggestion at this point.
Good night, sweetheart.
But
I love you.
Wide receivers certainly one of the top 3. Bye, Miss Avery. Wide receiver still one of the top 3. You make a good point. If Jones goes and Snead go, you have McDuffie that you feel, and I think he is certainly playing up to it, that can be your number one CB and certainly the leader of your secondary. You don't have that on the D line. So then you're looking at maybe do you try to go after another Texas player? Do you put D line up there with O line and go 1-2 and whoever is the best available you take? Could this be a scenario where you're trying to get an interior pass rusher because you think Chris is gone? Only Brett Veach knows that right now, as far as I'm concerned. And so we're just going to have to play it by ear, Micah.
Yeah, it's a hope and switch situation. You do what you have plans in case anything happens, and that's what they've been very good at managing, trying to figure out what they're going to do and always having precautions in case. But yeah, I agree. Wide receiver was not my number one priority either. It was my number 2 tackle because I don't think that Donovan Smith's going to be there next year. I just don't see him. I don't see the Chiefs wanting to get older at left tackle. I just put it this way. I would like to see them try to get a little bit younger in that department if they can. And wide receiver is something I'm sure we're going to hear a lot about over the next, I don't know, depends on how long it goes like this for.
17 weeks, maybe? I agree. In fact, that brings us to Micah's second question. Did you see the Steelers Pickens ball out yesterday, and why did we draft Sky over him? And the only thing that I can tell you is I liked George's game coming out, and the thing that I questioned was his ability to fit into the offense, and that still comes back to this day. It's about fit. And I think if you look at George Pickens' tree in college specifically, and I haven't gone over everything that he did the other day, yesterday, but I've seen a couple through this season so far. I don't think it's as varied as he needs to be to fit in this offense correctly and do what he's doing in Pittsburgh, in Kansas City. Am I wrong, Dan?
No, he's got like 3 routes that he runs. He is like he's like a juiced up version of Justin Ross right now in terms of the route tree. He has the curl. He gets an over route every now and then, whether that's a slant or a dig every now and then goes. They throw a bunch of back shoulder throws at him. His touchdown was on a busted coverage on a deep ball. That's what it was. He turned around, the cornerback slowed down, and then he kind of pushed his way by the corner and kept going. He's a good manipulator at that. It's not a fit in the offense. That's not what the Chiefs clearly wanted to draft at wide receiver. But then again, if they're going to have Sky out here running a bunch of curls, hitches, and not things he's good at, what does it really matter?
So I see that you're going to double down on that one. I like it.
I'm going to double down on it. Yep.
Jeremy ties in here as well. Thanks, Jeremy, one of our members. If you guys want in the memberships, go ahead and click join tonight and sign up as a rookie or above. You're going to get my game notes. You're going to get our behind the scenes, my Where I'm At series, Dan's rants, the whole 9 yards, and you get into the Discord where you can join Stevie and Gary and all the folks that are there pretty regularly, along with FLPB. That just links your Discord account to your YouTube account, and it's super, super simple once you remember. So give that a shot. But is it time to give Watson some respect? He made some great catches. Is he overlooked? I got to tell you, I felt like he was overlooked the whole preseason by most of Chiefs Kingdom. The vast majority of Chiefs fans wanted to get Justin Watson out of here, and I think now it's starting to become a little bit more visible that Patrick trusts him, and that means more than maybe most years, and he can actually make plays for you. And I think that's why we always considered him one of the top 4. And now it's the fact he's going to be the staple. I don't think they're going to try to push the ball deep as much with MVS, Dan, as they will with Watson.
And they're not. They're just not. MVS got 2 targets yesterday. He got 2.
Yeah.
This is not what we thought it was going to be. The 2 guys we thought were going to be like the high pass catchers and the high yards getters are not being involved in the offense. That's something that I'm going to be ranting about this week. I'll just tell you right now.
Nice.
I need to. I'm frustrated myself, and that's my own thing. So we'll take that away from the live and give you guys actual information instead of just ranting on about it. But yes, it looks like Justin Watson is the guy that not only understands leverage because he's been open multiple times and adjusting his route through the route based off of what he's seeing in the corner, and MBS isn't doing that. So right now, Justin Watson is the guy that they can push the ball to the deep levels of the field, especially on those corner routes. He's so good at that like corner fade a little bit, where it's not necessarily a straight line corner. It's more of a curved, and he just kind of looks for the ball and drifts that way. He's very good at that. That's what that deep ball was, essentially. It was more of a drifting pattern. So, yeah, right now, Justin Watson is the most stable yards getter in this offense next to Rashee Rice at wide receiver. So, it's definitely earned on his part.
It certainly is. And, we're going to stick with wide receivers for a while here, folks. I'm going to jump around. Thank you, Jeremy. And thank you, Tactics. Glad you're back. Appreciate you. PFF gave us a crack grade for drafting Rice in the second round. They did, because it came from SMU, and they didn't watch the film enough, and they couldn't project. The biggest problem, and this happens to all of us, everybody who claims to be a draft analyst, whether they actually are or not, or they actually watch film or not, or they actually know stats or not, we're all projecting. It's our own experience and point of view that brings in whether we're right or not. I certainly make misses. Dan makes misses. Everybody who does this with some heart makes misses. Everybody else who doesn't, who claims they're always right or they never admit being wrong, they're just in it to get the clicks. We're going to tell you what we think, and we're going to be wrong sometimes, but PFF isn't going to do that for you. So I hope that you're happy with Rice so far. I certainly am, but yet I see that he's got a jump start on where Sky was last year. I think that's usage. I think that's confidence. And I do believe that that's something they can build on. because of the lack of a top end number one, KT has not turned into a one yet. Maybe Brett Veach is ready, he can still get there, but in that time, it allows Rice that room to grow right now.
Yeah, I think right now they're doing a good job of ramping up Kadarius Toney. He's getting a little bit more involved week after week. They're seeing what his body can take, and we've noticed that he came up a little bit slow on one of the plays, then he got right back out there, and he was still used throughout the game. That's a very good sign for him, because we know that typically these injuries pop up and then he just kind of has to figure it out and his body has to let it happen. So right now they're ramping him up. They're using Rice in a lot of short designed ways to get him comfortable with what he's doing, because it's very different from what he was doing at SMU. Just very, very different. It was a huge vertical, basically almost just kind of like the spread it out air raid offense almost at SMU, where he was just chucking it. And they were like, yeah, go get the football. And that's pretty much what it was for him. And that's why people were like, well, we didn't make a lot of sense. But then if you went back to his 2021 tape, I'm like, look, the explosiveness is there. And that's what we talked about on the draft show. That night he was drafted. Again, he wasn't one of my top rated guys. But if you went back into 2021 and you looked, you could see that short area explosiveness. And he was hurt in 2022, which is why he kind of dropped. I think if he wouldn't have been hurt, he might have been a fringe first round pick. That's how good his tape could have been. So right now, that Rice pick is looking a lot smarter than what people gave the Chiefs when they took him.
I agree completely. And I think that's going to cement over time. Yeah. Thank you, Tactics. Appreciate you. Let's see. Want to stick with the wide receivers just for now, because like Hunter's a big fan of Rice. In a few years, you could see him being Pat's safety net, similar to Kelsey. And I agree. Like, remember what he did with Sammy. I really see that he could grow into that role. I don't think he's necessarily a Sammy guy. I see more Juju than I see Sammy, but that role, I think that
they had him. They had Sammy running a bunch of digs, a bunch of slants. That is the exact usage that Rashee Rice should be inheriting very soon. When his snaps go up, when he gets more comfortable with the yak stuff, that's what I really think that he could end up being. Like you said, that's a perfect role for him.
Yeah, I love it. And Cody's asking the same thing. Should he be getting more snaps? Yes. And I think they're going to take him up slowly.
Absolutely.
They also got to work KT back in because he has that explosiveness that could turn a single play. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like he's a little more hit or miss for me, but he does have that. Cody also said that this guy seems like the team is trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And that's exactly what Dan's seeing as well. And I will say this, if I'm Andy Reid and I need somebody to do that job, and KT's not ready, I'll take a square peg that I think has some adaptability and I trust to try. You know, there are guys that will say, hey, I'm not good at that. I'm not gonna give you my best effort. There are dudes that shut down because they're asked to do things that are outside of their zone of influence. And so I think that might be part of it too, is that like Andy's putting faith in this guy to do the dirty work now and not the accolades, knowing that we're all going to start bitching about it. You know, he'll come back to him later is my thought.
I'm waiting for Sky to have like a 7 reception day like that. I feel like eventually that's coming when we're all not expecting it. We're all just talking about how they're not using him right and they're feeding everybody else. And then one day it's just going to be like a 7 reception, 125-yard day for Sky Moore. And then I'm like, well, all right, whatever.
There was the magic number right there.
Yeah.
Jeff ties in with that, though. Does Mahomes need a reliability type receiver rather than the athletic guys with potential? And the answer is yes, and yes, and yes. That's what the veterans are for in particular. That's why you bring some guys in. That's what Juju did last year. It's what Watson's going to fill that role now, and MVS to a certain extent too. I wonder if later in the year we don't see more stacks with MVS and Watson together, so they can really put some stress on a half side of the field and see what comes of it. That's where I'd be going with it in a general direction. But you need a mix, Jeff. I mean, right now, I would lead more towards the reliability factor. Would you?
Yeah, it seems like right now when you have all these young players that they are still trying to figure out one. It looks like they're trying to figure out what everyone does best. It really does. It feels like they're trying to figure that out right now still. And Watson is going to run what he's expected to run and adjust when he's expected to adjust. So, that's the big reason that Juju was what he was last year. He understood the zones that they were going to be seeing. He understood when to stop his route. He understood when to adjust his route and when to run it through. That's what right now Justin Watson is providing Patrick Mahomes, especially in the intermediate and deeper parts of the field.
Yeah, and that, especially like the throttling down against zone, that's what you have to get to in order to be truly successful. You're just kind of biding your time until then. So thank you, Jeff. And info ties into that as well. Is would they be better off trading for a wide receiver? Seems like 7 is too many, and the youngs need to get more reps with less distribution. Would MVS or more have any trade value? And my answer is going to be, with MVS's contract, I don't think he does. And with Sky's lack of production, I don't think he does. But I will tell you this. I do feel like the distribution and the sluggishness that we see now is all building upon itself.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this yesterday. I did a late night radio hit on the West Coast, and I not to shout out the host, but he gave me an idea. He asked me a question in a very specific way, and I had to think about it. And I'm like, at the end of the day, it's doing all this and having all these complaints and all this question about who you're going to throw the ball to. Well, they're throwing the ball. They're putting it in the end zone, and they're winning ball games. They're racking up W's while we're all sitting here going, this doesn't look right. And so that's all input. That's all input, and then it will eventually pay off when it comes together later in the year. And that's how I answer that question then. And since then, I've been thinking about it all day. Like, more and more, I think that's actually the way that this has to go.
Yeah. If you can win games when you're trying to figure stuff out, you're playing chess, not checkers. Like, that's what this really ends up being, like it was last year. They were trying to figure out how to survive without Tyreek Hill. Took them a little while to figure it out. And once they did, it took off. So I hope you're right. I really do. Because I trust Andy Reid. I trust Patrick Mahomes to figure it out. At the end of the day, that's what we got. I can see what I see, but they know better than I do what they have in the building and what they want to do. Because obviously, I'm not in their ear. They're not in my ear. They're not telling me. I can only go by off what I see. And at the end of the day, we will find out what this team turns into.
I agree. Curtis, good question. And thank you, Info. Appreciate you. As trade deadline is approaching, any players that would help us that are attainable? And that's really the question. What are the Chiefs sitting at? 3.5 mil? That's the problem, is the attainability. Not only in what you give up in trade capital, you can't afford a salary. So I don't think so. I expect the Chiefs to do 0 at the trade deadline right now.
I'm with you. Unless they're doing a player swap and a salary swap, I expect them to stand pat, because they're essentially getting their trade deadline acquisition, Charles Omenihu. He's essentially going to act like your trade deadline guy, because he's coming in after week 6. That's what this is. Like, he's coming in then. So yeah, I don't think so.
That's kind of where I'm at too. Let's see, Marshall. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your support. Am I alone in thinking KT leads the receivers in targets by the bye week? You should jumping from 25 to 38% last night. Very good point, Marshall. And I think, can I cross anything else? Maybe.
Right there.
I don't know.
Like, I think that's a good hope. Okay. Yeah. Because again, usage. That's typically what you see from a team that's getting more comfortable. Yeah, Rice isn't getting the number of plays, but he leads the team in route and yards per targets per route run. Like, he is being used heavily when he's on the field. Eventually, teams are going to be like, he's on the field, he's going to get the ball.
Oh,
so let's go ahead and just not do that. And what does that do? It allows you to run routes behind him. So I do think that KT is continuing to get everything up after the bye week. You might see a full-on ramp up from him personally.
Yeah. And hey, that's a great thing, because that, like, sustainability through a 20-game season, and we have to always consider the Chiefs in a 20-game season. That's a tough part for KT. So let's enjoy that and give him a little bit of buffer there. Thanks, Marshall. Appreciate you, bud.
Appreciate you.
Pono, nice to see you, buddy. Justin Ross and Rashee's drops problems are because they're afraid of getting hit. Their eyes are on the incoming missile, not the ball. I have agreed with you at times. There's also been concentration things. Like I thought that one where Ross was falling backwards last night, that didn't feel to me like he was worried about getting hit. Maybe I'm wrong, but where do you see it, Dan?
From the drops that I've seen, Rice is more just concentration, trying to get ahead of himself with the yak, and Ross's were technique driven. I have not seen a drop on Rashee Rice that is technique driven. He's hitting it in the hands, and then he's trying to do this, use that, like I said, use that proof vision, and then you drop the football. Ross is hitting him in the chest, so that's a technique problem. If it's going through your hands, they're too wide, and you're not doing a good job of closing them when the ball's there. So that's what I'm seeing myself.
My other one too, I think there was one where Rashee let it into his chest, but both of them don't extend enough. If you're doing this, that's one thing. If you're doing this, you're winning that ball, and that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
So let's hope that they both continue to refine. I feel like they're going to, and this clues into James' question, is it will come with playing time, and I think Ross is due to get more playing time.
Yeah.
What was it, Dan? What was his line? 6 snaps, was it?
I think so, and he had 4 targets.
Yeah. 6 snaps. Oh, wait. No, I got to go back. He had 6 targets.
What was it?
Caught 3 of them. So now I got to go check his actual snaps, because I'll bet you it was still a really high percentage. This is according to PFF. This isn't the official stats. I'm going back and double checking this right now, because according to them,
that does not seem accurate.
No, that does not. According to PFF, they're saying that Justin Ross played 33 snaps last night. That's 50%. I did not see him out near that much.
Are you looking at the right place? Like, that doesn't seem right.
Oh, maybe I'm looking at the season. Maybe that's the problem.
Okay, so last night he had 4 targets and 2 receptions. And he played. I don't have snap numbers there.
I got it. Hold on.
I think 11
right.
snaps.
You were right all along. He ran 6 routes. He was in on 6 plays. He got 4 targets. He caught 2 of them.
There you go. That's it.
You were absolutely right. I had the season stats up in front of me. I was like, there's no way he played 33 snaps.
I was like, yeah, that's a fishy thing.
Yeah, that's on me. But James, you're absolutely on track. Like, I do think they're going to bump him up. I think when they gave him a play that is kind of his thing, that high ball, climb the ladder, go get it. Like, that's his deal. He's actually really good at tracking over the shoulder. I think I said that last night as well. When he pays off on those plays that you expect him to, I think that earns him more snaps. And so I agree with you. I think that's exactly what's coming.
Yep. Show the work. You start showing the work on the field, you're going to get more snaps. That's just how this runs.
Okay. And so we're going to go back to the top. I'm sorry, Chad. I got away from you early because I wanted to get the wide receiver talk kind of out of the way before we got to this. Do you think the Chiefs make any moves with Travis with the ankle injury? What we heard from Schefter today is that it's not the high ankle at all. It is all low, and that's a big plus. I'm glad we discussed the high ankle last night because that's a bigger problem. This is a much easier thing to recover from. But we also found out today that the simulated or estimated practice report, if they were going to have a practice today, which they did not, it was just treatment and recovery. Practice would not have happened for Travis Kelce. He would not have been available due to that injury. So the question becomes, can you rehab it enough on what is already a light week with just 10-10-10s? Tomorrow's practice will be the hardest that they go, and they might have 2 periods of actual work. So it's not heavy. I don't expect him to participate tomorrow, and if he does, it'll just be light. Question is, can he get the swelling down, and can he be relatively reduced pain by the time you're ready for kickoff? Otherwise, you're talking about having to give him some painkillers, over tape it, spat the shoe, the whole 9 yards. And so I don't think they need to make any moves. I think I trust Noah Gray. I'd like to see Bushman get some more time. And I think, quite frankly, there's so many receiver targets. I want to see him go a little bit more like, I want some 5 wide. Like let's get crazy with it a little bit if that's what you have to do while Travis maybe needs a break.
They need it. Honestly, they need it. I'll be upfront. Like, the Denver Broncos have one of the worst defenses in football. Vance Joseph has torn that defense from what it was last year with a lot of the same players. They've also been hurt too. So I think they need to use this game as an opportunity to evaluate their wide receiver room. You keep 7 of them. If Travis can't play, you need to figure out who's going to come up and step up in a big spot like that. It's a Thursday night football game against a rival who you always play tough, and they're going to continue to come at you because You have beat them 13 straight times. Okay. Like, this is not, and they just came off of kind of an embarrassing loss to the New York Jets after Sean Payton did all that talking about Nathaniel Hackett in the offseason. Like, what they're going to come at you to this game. They're going to come at you. See what you got in these wide receivers.
I'm totally with you. I like Steve's idea as well. If Kelsey doesn't play, do they go to Noah and feed him a little bit? I think that they will, but I don't think it's going to be. You have to replace Travis's routes, his particularly intermediate routes at the 8 to 12 to 14 range. You have to replace those with wide receivers. What's that?
So I know who I want doing that.
Yeah, you and me both. I'm guessing we're going to say the same guy here in a second, but it's not Noah Gray for me. For me, it's Rice, and that's Rice, and it's Rice.
I want Rice doing what he's been doing. I want Sky Moore doing what Travis Kelce's been doing.
Okay. I would flip that. That's cool with me. Hey, whatever works. Do you think they will say Trav doesn't play? Would they go with Noah that much?
I think that they'll do the same thing they did in game one, in the opening game this season. They would still feature him a little bit, which they did, and he made some plays.
Okay. So Quinn, you're tying into what we were saying. You're on top of it. So who do you think does get the most targets? Say Travis misses this ballgame.
I'm gonna say it's Kadarius Toney again. It's going to be Kadarius Toney again. Like, that's kind of what they did in the opening week. And I think that would be what they do again, because they were able to scheme him open a lot. And the way that he moves and feels in the pocket and stuff like that, in the field, they are going to want to get him in those situations. I think that makes the most sense. But depending on how his body feels, we'll see about how it actually goes. But the usage ticking up from last week to this past week is in favor of him being in that way, I think.
Agreed. I think it'll be him or Rice. I'm with you. Chad, what are your thoughts and concerns about the Chiefs team so far this season? It is just being on the same page on the offensive side. And for me, it's about being a little bit thin. If George can't go, you're really down, right? Like if McDuffie or Snead had to miss something, you're exposed a little bit. So they're doing great now. Attrition is going to hit in eventually. That's probably what I'm concerned about.
I think that my thoughts right now are just kind of, myself included, taking a deep breath, take a step back, realize what's happening in the NFL across the AFC, and the Chiefs are still the number 1 seed in the AFC. Like, that hasn't changed at all. But my concerns are more about what are they going to do with the distribution of the wide receiver room. You kept 7 guys, and I personally feel that keeping 7 has caused a little bit of a riff in the distribution of targets and the distribution of plays. And now they're kind of being pressured a little bit into playing someone, your Justin Ross, more, and that's going to cause more rifts. It's the distribution of weapons being used, I think, is muddying up the passing game myself, and the trust that Patrick Mahomes has in the players when they're on the field, because they're getting switched in and out so much that it's causing a little bit of disconnectivity.
I like that one, disconnectivity. I'm going to steal that. And I completely agree with you. So that's where we're at right now, Chad. I'm going to have you take Micah's first and be the voice of reason before I give you my opinion.
All right, Micah. So the grade on Byron Cook so far this year seems out of place. At times he looked lost on the Addison touchdown on a simple drag route that he and the cornerback were covering. So I just watched it personally, and I was not a fan of the way he covered it because he took his eyes off of Kirk Cousins completely. He did the play fake. He kind of stepped up a little bit, and as soon as he realized that Kirk did not have the ball, he turned around, took himself out of the play completely. He made a 180, turned the wrong way. He looked for the guy behind him. You know, McDuffie's behind, he's trailing. And as the deep safety, you need to be able to move with the eyes of the quarterback. When you turn your back to the quarterback, you can't see where he is. And you also put yourself behind the wide receiver. So yes, that play specifically, I shoulder a little bit of the blame on Brian Cook for taking himself out of the play completely. But just about everywhere else, this guy might be one of the most sure tacklers on the team. He comes down and runs support, open field tackling. Fantastic. He's gonna, like I told you, he can be frustrating for me at times because of the coverage stuff, or he's still figuring it out. To be perfectly honest, he's still figuring it out because he wasn't really asked to be a deep safety at Cincinnati. That wasn't his role. So he's now being asked to be more of a last line of defense. So at times when he wants to turn his eyes and look for the receiver, which a lot of times he was asked to do as a box safety or a slot corner, it's taking a little bit of rewiring. So he's still trying to figure that part out. So I give a little bit more leeway in that department.
I'm completely with you. He did look like he had an issue on that play. Taking yourself as a high safety, whether you're single or split, you have to keep an eye on the quarterback the whole time. And I agree with you completely there. I will say this too, the rules of engagement on that particular play, the way that they are aligned, you could argue, and no one will know except those that were in the room, that he had to guard up against the goal line as well, rather than the end line.
Yeah.
So that's Trent's responsibility as well. I don't think because it was Addison, I don't think they were doubling him. So I'm not sure the responsibility was there at the back.
Yeah, he was playing outside leverage. So it felt like they were trying to funnel to the middle of the field. Yeah. And if that's the case, then Cook has to understand that a little bit better. Like I said, he stepped up on the play action fake, and maybe he felt a little panicked and tried to make a play when there wasn't really something to be made there.
Well, let's be honest. Addison's got enough acceleration that you can get put in a pucker situation pretty quick.
So. Yeah, I think he may have been like, oh no. Oh, oh no. Oh, wait.
Hold on. Jordan, if the Chiefs play the Niners right now, how do you see them competing? What corrections are realistic to give them a better shot in the playoffs? I think they hold their own. I'm very, very happy with your Tranquil, I got to tell you. And the biggest threat to me right now, I think they can handle Debo. I think they're going to let Ayuk get past you once, something like that. There's going to be a breakdown. It's McCaffrey that scares me because he's going to get 12 and 15 and 18 yards at a time and just run right down the field or catch little slant passes right down the field. That's what scares me.
And unfortunately, I mean, Brock Purdy is currently making me eat my words from a week or two ago. He's playing exceptional football. Like I watched that game and he was layering throws. He was reading the defense. Yes, he makes a lot of first read throws, but these guys are open all the time. And when he doesn't have to, when he has to make second read throws or second reaction throws, he does enough to be able to get outside the pocket and make plays happen. The big problem is that they have a huge lineup with McCaffrey, Kittle, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk. And their offensive line right now is playing probably better than they have in the last 4 years, you can argue.
Yeah.
I don't believe that they hold their own as well as Ryan does. I think the San Francisco 49ers are clearly the best team in football right now, and there's a pretty sizable gap. Now, that can shrink by the time December rolls around, like it all can. Early season returns right now are the 49ers, in my opinion, playing exceptionally well.
I ain't scared. That's all there is to it. I wasn't scared of the Dolphins when they went off for 70. I ain't scared of the Niners. Could they win? Sure. But I see it as a 50-50 at this point. It's all about the way the ball bounces. So, hey, that's fine. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I don't do that very often, so I'm happy about it. Oscar, I know on paper this looks like an easy game, but the Broncos always play close. What is your prediction for the game offensively and defensively? To have that, you're going to have to watch later in the week.
Yeah, Oscar. I appreciate the question, but you're kind of burying the lead here.
Right,
trying to give away secrets.
We've been trying to do live shows for you guys on Fridays for our game plans and our predictions and everything you need to know going into the game. We will try to do that again. I don't know what the order is going to come out, but I'll just give you, in case you miss it or we don't get to another live stream here this week. I do think that this is going to be butt kicking. Are the Broncos going to put something up? Is Marvin Mims going to do something crazy? Maybe get in the end zone? I think so. But this is a 3-score win for the Chiefs as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know. I'm still just, last year it should have been. Both games should have been. That was the worst the Broncos looked. And honestly, Russell Wilson's playing better this year than he was last year. So I'm a little more thinking it's going to be more of a 1-score to 10-point game myself. But we'll wait and see what I settle on later in the week.
All right, that works for me. Marshall, thank you, buddy. Tony Rice Ross,
Marshall.
Kelsey and Pacheco package is here. It is, as long as they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
I am concerned. If there's another, I think he can recover from this. If there's another like non-season threatening, nagging type injury to Travis Kelce, where he's got to carry 3 things around with him for the rest of the season, I'm starting to worry about production. I'm just going to tell you. Hey, I felt it at 30, not 34. Travis already way ahead of me, but there's a cliff out there waiting. It's lurking, and I worry that he's going to find it sooner than later.
Yeah, and teams are also not really afraid of the other weapons out there right now. They're really not, and they're putting more pressure on Travis Kelce when he's being asked to be the first read. Defenses are saying, okay, well, yeah, he destroyed a lot of teams last year, but they also had Juju, who was nearly 1,000-yard receiver. They were still trying to hit MVS deep on some free deep balls, and at the end of the day, that's not happening this year. So I think they're trying to figure out who's going to be the guy that takes some pressure off of Kelsey. And right now it looks like it's going to be Rashee Rice going forward, and that can help him. But right now it's a little more up in the air. He scores touchdowns at back-to-back weeks, which is good for, the team. I think that the yards might be coming down this year, unfortunately.
Maybe just a little. What's your thoughts on Jawaan Taylor? Great question, Jonathan.
Yeah, John Taylor had a pretty okay game. I don't think he had like a fantastic showing. And the simple fact that his name was kept out of the referee's mouth is anything that I needed. It was everything. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you. That makes me happy. Just keep that up and we'll have nothing to talk about, Juwan.
Yeah, right.
What's up, Mr. Knicks man? Appreciate you.
What up?
Just keep winning. Everything else on offense will fix itself soon enough. It is kind of self-healing.
I'm sure it will.
I hope you're right, and I agree with you. Lev, would you guys dress Kelsey this week or give him the red zone snaps if his ankle is feeling okay, or just trust that the team can shred the suspect Denver defense and give him time off? I'd dress him. I'd play him very sparingly. I'd get out to a lead, and I'd let him sit.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally, if he's anywhere from 50 to 60%, I'd rest him. If he's above that, okay, dress, play sparingly. But if he's below that, I'm not even risking it.
Yeah, there's no sense. You need him down the line. He's core. Jonathan, what do you guys think of Leo? How Leo played? It was nice to see him get the sack for sure. It helps that they didn't bother to block him. And so, hey, thanks for the underestimation there. I like what Leo's doing. I think he's shown improvement in multiple areas. I think I'm still a little bit frustrated that they're just not letting him do what he's naturally best at.
Thank you.
That is rush the passer from behind the line of scrimmage as a stand-up linebacker. Just set him loose, for God's sake. That's what he does. And they still have yet to do it. And it's making me pull my hair up.
Yeah. I think that we're going to see it a little bit more dependent on game. Like I was trying to say, like I said it yesterday, we've seen that 3-3 lineup from them. When Nick Bolton gets back, that's coming back. It's absolutely coming back. So they've had to play him a little bit less than they may have wanted to. And I think that's impacted the way that he's been able to pass rush. So they have to play more of a 4-3 or a nickel. They don't get to kind of have their pseudo 3-3 package or 2-4 almost kind of thing that they want at times. So it's been a little tough.
Yeah, I hear you. Eventually the necessity will bring around innovation. Pono, does Trent make all pro this season? Whew, that's a tough one. I think he has a chance. Sustainability over 17 games, or probably 15 games by the time the voting's actually done, right? I think they open up all pro, I think, a couple weeks before the end of the regular season. He has a chance. But I mean, it's him, Sauce. I hate to say this out loud because it just pisses me off, but Steven Nelson is playing very, very well. Who else? I got D. Alford out there playing well. Asante Samuel Jr. is playing well. Luckily, Christian Gonzalez went down, or you wouldn't have him, pushing.
Christian Gonzalez would have been an all-pro. He was playing incredible.
I'm totally with you. That kid, wow. He's even better than I hoped he was. Yeah, it sucks. But it's a possibility, Pono. You got to survive the attrition of the league, let alone everything else.
Maybe second team.
Yeah.
I think he's got a good shot at second team.
Mark, thanks for the question. Would you give up this year's one to add some juice at wide receiver to the edge room? Is there anyone available that's worth it? You give up this year's one, you have to go spend in free agency on left tackle. I don't think I can stomach that. So, no, I would not. Rumor that one of the Washington edges is out there, Chase or Sweat. Young enough, but still wouldn't do it. I don't know about you, Dan.
I'm just not there at this point. I just don't personally think that they need to. You're going to have to release another wide receiver if you add someone to the room, maybe two, depending on the volume of said player that you have to bring in, and you just won't have enough snaps to go around. So it's a tough situation to try to trade for somebody. Plus, I don't think you're going to be able to trade for anybody, one, that would do it for you. Like the Broncos wouldn't trade you Jerry Jeudy. I mean, they're not going to do that. They're going to help a division opponent. And there's not any other players that are really going to be on the trade block. Because, we all assume that the Broncos are going to be sellers, like heavy sellers after Thursday night's game. They're going to have time to be able to sort this out and get after it in the trade in the trade department. So I'm staying pat. I
agreed. Anita, why not trade for Justin Jefferson since he told McDuffie he'd like to be a Chief? Well, I love that that was said. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that was said either.
That's really interesting, actually. Unfortunately, Justin doesn't get to decide. The Vikings own his rights. What he has said that I do believe is he said he isn't going to sign with them until they find out whether they're bringing Kirk back. And not because he wants to get away from Kirk. He wants to play with Kirk. So if they bring him back, he ain't going nowhere, voluntarily or otherwise. And the Vikings would be fools to trade him away to anyone for anything because you'll never get value enough back, ever.
Agreed. 100%.
So, as much as I love the concept, they're not trading. Kirk Cousins ain't coming to Kansas City. I'll tell you that. That'd be a tough transition. I am impressed with the defense. Thank you, Avery. So far, plenty of room for improvement. They did very well against a good offense Sunday and a lot of youth. I'm glad you feel that way because that's generally how we feel as well.
Yeah.
And I know Dan's typing, so that means I am falling behind.
Not just you. We.
Does Jay Will's usage hurt Watson's play? Watson's play hurts Watson's play is what I think.
It's rough. There's some rough moments in this game. And the one that you highlighted yesterday, I think got him benched. I think Josh Williams came in after that on the drive, and they said, "You're not going back out there."
Yeah, I mean that ball was underthrown. It could have been picked. He could have had another play like he had against the Chargers last year. And here's my thing: I like Jaylen. I am a proponent, and I've been defending. I'm done with that at this point. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt until you prove me wrong. Well, Watts, you proved me wrong. Now you got to earn it back. That's just the way it goes.
Never mind. It didn't get him benched.
No, he did come back in.
No, it did. He did come back in. I pulled it up to see. It did not get him benched. Okay.
We'll see how much he plays next week. Michael, hope you're doing well, buddy. Would you give up a first round or equivalent for Pitts? Also, I tried to deadline. What about going for Clark, Juju, or McCole? Any others? McCole offers me nothing. He cannot add to this offense in any way that I'm.
Juju's hurt.
With. Juju's got hurt. Frank is toast. I wouldn't trade for any of them. Kyle Pitts is a different story. Would I give a 1 for him? No. Because I don't know if it's just their system or if there's something wrong with Kyle Pitts.
So I don't think Kyle Pitts is perfectly healthy. I think that they rushed him back before he was fully ready to play, and he looks like someone who's uncomfortable. But he had a very nice game yesterday. He was used properly, and they threw him the football. I am absolutely giving up a low-end first-round pick for Kyle Pitts. I will figure it out later. I am absolutely doing it, and I'm just signing him, probably making him a wide receiver. I'm not even messing around with tight ends, or he'll be like Travis Kelce in the same sense.
Are you doing this in a vacuum, or are you doing this for the Chiefs knowing that there's a left tackle need next year?
No, it's a vacuum. It's just in a vacuum. It's not need based. It's just me saying, yes, give me this player and just drop him airdrop him into this offense.
Okay, fair enough. And just to tie into your point, I've been a Ritter defender, and they finally let him throw. And I think
it was beautiful.
the play design. I think the play design's changed. I haven't watched the 22, but I did watch that game live in the split screen thing. So it wasn't 100%. But what I saw was enough that they were more aggressive with it. They weren't treating the pass as the complement. They were moving the ball through the air in order to help the run because they knew they were going to get that stack box. I think that works. I still have faith in Desmond Ridder to come around, and Kyle Pitts is going to help him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I absolutely agree.
Kip, thank you for your support. Appreciate you. Great win, great coverage. Got to see Jay Ross make some catches. I'm glad you were there. Good for you. And I appreciate the fact that you came in gold and you have the purple icon. Well done. Mahomes looked like Mahomes, the man, and I appreciate that. And no drops from Rice. Go Chiefs. You guys are great. Thank you, Kip. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
And if you have clips, if you have footage, I'd love to see. That stadium looks cool, and I've never been in it. So if you have anything you want to share with us, throw it at rgrpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll try to get your clip on a show here at some point. I appreciate you, Kip. Thanks for the support.
Nice.
And thank you again, Marshall. Did Kelsey injury propel wide receivers into a bigger role? Yeah, I think it had to help. I mean, was it like all goes? No, but they had to compensate somewhere.
Yeah, they also seemed a little frazzled at the end of the half when it happened. And the offense just kind of, some of the clock management wasn't my favorite in that moment. And later, I think you're trying to see after the halftime, you see Travis trying to sneak his way into the field a couple of times. But they got into a nice rhythm. I think Rashee was very useful on that drive, like you said, kind of in that Kelsey role where he's intermediate in the middle of the field, turning around looking for the football, and he was able to score a touchdown based off of that. So that's what I liked to see. It felt like Rice was kind of just sliding in there and taking some of those routes, like Ryan was talking about earlier.
I like it. I'm gonna let you take this one.
All right, what's up, Dad? I don't know if you're still watching this. Sorry it took us so long to get to your question. But is anyone else worried that Mahomes not throwing the deep ball effectively? So we've talked about this, unfortunately, all season, and it feels like teams that just don't. They're just not going to let him do it anymore. And the Chiefs themselves, they're watching the Jets game. They were just like, we'll play cover 4, we'll play man coverage with 2 high safety. You're not throwing the ball deep on us. We'll force you to check the ball down. Prove to us that you can check the ball down, run the ball. Oh, maybe we'll bring our safeties up, but even then, they probably won't do it. So unless you get a full-on coverage break, the inconsistencies of trying to find that happy medium between 20 and 25 yards that Pat's still kind of not there yet with right now. I think that's been the biggest drop-off, as we've seen Patrick get a little uncomfortable. He's not able to just uncork it. He has to control it in between that 15 and 25 yards where they might be able to hit Justin Watson. That's where we're seeing some of the inconsistencies in the throws. But yesterday to Justin Watson was a nice throw, just beating the coverage there. So, yeah, I think it's going to trend in the right direction. Not too worried about it.
It's a good start. I still feel like they're tired. I got to tell you, Mahomes in particular. Kev, there's going to be a fire sale in Denver if they keep losing. They're going to be in the division. They won't trade, but would you go for Judy? Do you think that there's a spot for Judy in this offense if they were just giving him away?
No.
Okay. I don't either.
He's not an outside receiver. He really isn't at this point in his career. Like, he's not a deep ball winner. He is a intermediate winner. Granted, that's what the Chiefs like. They like intermediate winners, but you're talking about Justin Watson and MVS having to take their snaps down. Do you think Andy Reid wants to do that? Doesn't look like it.
And Judy's not consistent enough to make him. So
he's also hurt. He's injury prone too.
True. The only guy on the Denver roster that I would take hands down, whatever had to be done, is Surtain. You put him and McDuffie, and holy Christ, they're not moving. It's over. It's absolutely over.
They won't do it, but man,
no. And yes, I would give up the first round pick for him, despite the tackle need. Yes,
yeah.
Andrew, which 3 guys in order would you like to see targeted besides Kelce, Rice, Toney, Sky? Seems to me like they're trying to figure this out. Yeah. What do you got,
I
Dan?
don't disagree. I don't disagree at all right now. I'm trying to figure out how to get Sky more targets, but the Chiefs don't want to look at him in the progressions. Rice is getting more first look targets than Sky has, I think, all season. So it's disappointing, and we'll find out this season what that's going to end up being. But I think I would flip-flop Toney and Rice personally, just a smidge, because
Okay.
I think Toney's explosiveness right now and I think he's just got a little bit more understanding his zone, just a bit more of where he needs to be on the field, and we kind of saw that in the opening week. So I think I would just slightly flip it, but I have no arguments if you want Rice over Toney. I'm talking myself out of it right now. Like I really am.
Have you ever watched A Christmas Story with the leg lamp? It says Fragile on it.
Unfortunately, yes.
I would flip Sky and Toney because of that. Toney can be effective for you without getting force-fed targets. You know what I mean? I do think volume is important for the young guys in Rice and Sky. I think Toney can make do with fewer targets and still have an impact on the game. That's what I would
That's true. That's true.
Thank you, Andrew. Great question.
Appreciate it.
Gary, do you guys really ever see Kadarius Toney not missing games? No.
No.
Nah, that's just not something that's going to happen. Corey, was it FVS giving up on the play when Mahomes scrambled and threw to the end zone, or was it miscommunication? Shouldn't everyone know by now that never give up on a play? I didn't feel like that was a give up. I felt like he was out leveraged, if I remember correctly. I think it was Rice actually that hit on what was a skinny post and didn't play through the contact enough.
Yeah, I saw MVS stopping in the end zone personally.
Okay.
He got clear of his cornerback, and then he was like, "I'm open in the end zone," and then it was way over his head. I think it was out of bounds too. Like I don't think the ball landed in the end zone, so everyone was pointing to him not being where the ball was. I don't think Patrick even hit a catchable ball.
Yeah, the broadcast said he could have made it at the end line. I agree with you. I think that was still too high, but who knows? It seems like there's a deep draft coming up. Maybe 5 round 1 quarterbacks, 4 to 5 round 1 receivers. That might be a little rich for me, but who knows? And many edge rushers. Is that what the word is about the draft being this deep? You're right on the quarterbacks.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure on the wideouts.
I don't know about that right now. Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of it yet, but
and the edges are thin. If you guys aren't on NFL 33, go subscribe. You got to get in and do the subscription thing. But once you do, I have my advanced stats on pass rushers coming out this week. It's not as dynamic as it has been the last few years. There are a couple of guys that I do like, but they are more stand-up outside linebackers than they are defensive ends. So
okay.
I don't think there's going to be as many first-rounders at the edge position as there was last year. And that includes FAU. So that's just me. We'll see what happens. Yeah. It's just the beginning of divisional season, conference season. So we'll see if somebody can up their game dramatically. Show me. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Would Marquise Brown of Arizona interest you? It's a great question. And thanks for being a member for so dang long. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
What do you think of Hollywood?
I like Hollywood, and I got around to watching the Arizona Cardinals offense, not this past week, but the last 2 weeks before that. They're actually quite fun. I can't believe I'm saying it. I did a breakdown of Josh Dobbs on Twitter. If you guys are interested in that, you can look it on my Twitter page. It's a lot of fun to see what they're doing. And I was rather impressed with the route running of Marquise Brown when I was watching the Cardinals. So personally, yes, I think he interests me also because he brings a speed element with still a route running ability that you don't actually have on the team. So yeah. But I'm actually of the opinion that the Arizona Cardinals are not going to be trading anybody because they're actually kind of playing much better than anyone expected them to.
Could they not get the top pick? We're going to find out. That's going to be a tough one. Thank you, sir. More nicotine. What are the top 5 teams so far? Well, let me get this out of the way. There's 2 in the NFC. That's San Francisco and Philly. And then it's Chiefs, Bills, Miami for me. I would still put Chiefs number 2 overall behind San Fran, but any of those 5 can beat any of the others any given Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm starting to think that the Lions are almost a top 5 team in the NFL.
Good for
like
them.
that defense. The defense is really good. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
they lost their cornerback who just got back. I think it was Mosley. Yesterday, after recovering from an ACL, tearing the other ACL when he comes back, Emmanuel Mosby. That's tough. But the Lions are coming up. They're playing really good football, and they didn't have their top 2 targets on offense. Was it top 2 targets? They didn't have. I know they didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they didn't have Jahmyr Gibbs. That's what it was, and they still rolled on offense. So yeah, I think the Lions are well on their way to being a top 5 team in the NFL. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Well done. Well done. Hey, you got to fight for the home team. Marshall, Toney throwing a touchdown pass from that direct snap. I pray that they don't try to do that. I got to tell you.
I think they will.
Former
quarterback.
I hope you guys are wrong. I'm just not ready for it.
I'm ready for it. I'm absolutely ready for it.
All right, fine.
He had a cannon too. They could pull it out on the 20-yard line.
Oh, jeez. I'll shut up and wait till it happens, and then I'll tell you I was right. Mikey, I want Nick Bolton back. How about you guys? P.S. You guys rock. Keep up the good work. Thanks, Mikey. I want him back out there as well.
Yeah.
But if he's not 100, and I mean 100, I'm okay waiting another week.
I understand. I get that too. They need to be ready for the postseason run. So whatever you got to do to let these guys rest up, let them rest up. And this week, the short week, is a tough one. You get 10 days off after.
Yeah.
If they're not ready to go, don't push it when you got a 10-day rest before your next game.
I tell you what. All right, we're going to speed round it. Brother Rick, thank you for the support. Appreciate you. Why aren't there more interceptions on this defense? They're a little over aggressive, and I think the young guys get a little bit out of phase. It feels like there's a lot of routes where the guy in coverage is playing catch up. And I think that takes away from your ability to play the ball as well.
I agree. And they also funnel a lot of stuff to their safeties, which puts them in outside leverage, which makes it easier to complete balls to the inside. You're not seeing a ton of, like yesterday, they played a lot of more man coverage and more press coverage, which puts you in better positions to make those plays typically, if, jump balls and things like that. But I don't think their aim is to get interceptions. I'll be very honest. I don't think that's their aim.
And I love them. Cook wasn't a big interception guy. McDuffie wasn't a big interception guy. That it's pushing them past what I think is reasonable to expect. I'd love to see it, but good Lord, I don't know. Somebody better find Ed Reed to train them up or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Brother Rick. Yeah, right. Appreciate you, Rick. Justin, welcome. Glad you made it back. Hope you're doing well. Dez, would a trade for Terry McLaurin be realistic? Would he be a fit? Realistic, probably not. He's coming up on what, 4th year next year? But he'll fit in any offense, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that he's a free agent after this year. Maybe I'm wrong.
Oh, is he?
Feels like he's got a contract. He'd signed a contract with Washington, if I'm not mistaken. His second contract. I think earlier. I might be wrong on that, but yes, I would love to see him in Kansas City. He would be an awesome fit. And I believe, just like Ryan, that he fits any offense that you want to run. He's currently running Andy Reid's offense under EB, and he's having a great season. He wasn't targeted at all in the Chicago Bears, pretty much, which irritated me, myself, and my fantasy teams because I have a lot of Terry McLaurin everywhere. So, yeah, come on down. If there's going to be a fire sale, Washington might be one of the teams selling.
Let's go. Last few questions here, folks, and we'll wrap it up. We appreciate you. From what we have seen the Chiefs playing cat and mouse games to set up things for later in the season or for the playoffs, do you think that's true?
I don't know necessarily that they're playing cat and mouse. I absolutely think that they are setting up some sequencing plays for later, but I also just think that they're trying to figure out what everyone's good at, just as much as they're trying to get everyone in sync. Like, sometimes it takes a little longer. Chiefs
Justin, I don't need a super chat just to find you. I'm just super late, man. I'm glad you didn't send it. So I'm just super slow. Sorry. Let's see. Tatum, hope you're doing well, buddy. When will the Chiefs start taking the ball away? Yeah, I mean, that's what we were talking about before. I hope that it happens. I was encouraged by the jump that Mike Edwards got on that pass last night. Because he does have, while he is a lucky as so be with his interceptions, he does know how to attack the ball in the air. And I did like that concept. I think he'll probably get some.
Yeah, he's got instincts. He has ball instincts. And that's something that the Chiefs kind of don't have on their roster. But he's the only guy that has ball instincts right now. Everyone else is more of a scheme fit defensively.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna stop. We'll finish up with Brian's question. Make sure you like, sub, hit that bell if you're not one of us already. Thanks for your patience. Glad you didn't throw that super chat in.
Appreciate
there,
y'all.
Mr. Mead. And this is what it comes down to: Snead versus Judy or McDuffie versus Sutton. I actually think we see the reverse more, but which matchup is more important, Dan?
Personally, it's whoever plays Jerry Jeudy. Because he's the one. He scored 3 touchdowns on this defense last year in one of the games. He scores touchdowns all the time against this team, and Courtland Sutton is toast. He can't get open. He doesn't have good short area anymore, and he's not that deep field stretching guy he was 4 years ago. Jerry Jeudy is the guy that you have to have focus on for this team, and I think that L'Jarius Sneed can just take Courtland Sutton out of this football game. Just take him out. He won't be effective.
Yeah, I think it can be a shutdown situation. And I am a huge Sutton guy. That injury cost him his career of being anything like he could have been. It sucks.
Agreed.
But we are going to have content for you. Seth's going to be up tomorrow. Dan's got film in the works. We'll try to squeeze that in as soon as we can. I'll try to get something done. I have a clip out there for you right now that went up earlier today. You'll see a short from it later in the week. Obviously, we're all rushing towards Thursday night. So like, sub, hit the bell. Make sure you check out all the content because it's a short week and you want to know what's going on. We appreciate you all for hanging out. It's nice to see all the friendly faces. Appreciate you guys very much, Dan. Thanks for taking the time, especially with the little one around.
Always, guys. And you had to do it, Justin. You just had to throw the super sticker in there, man. Thank you very much for your support. We love you we love you guys. You're fantastic. And you guys know I'm going to have film. I might even have it up early. I might have it up tomorrow.
Ooh.
I don't know.
I like it. Okay.
Just saying.
We'll make a deal. All right. You guys have a great night. Enjoy Monday Night Football.